Okay, guys, let's dive into your questions. So, Jared, would you give us the first question? Put it on. We'll
Yeah,
put it on the
the first
screen.
question, and you can put it on the screen while I read it out. So this is from Diana, and she was wondering, how do you create a good workflow for your notebooks? I'm going to a conference soon. Would like some tips to help me with that and my work.
Well, you're in luck, Diana. I've written in two different places. I've written about it in this book, Create. I talk about keeping notebooks and also in advancing your photography. And I made a notebook which I don't have for sale. I should probably get it back for sale. This is my AYP notebook, and inside of it, there's your whole thing on how to use this notebook. So I'll just read you what I wrote here. It's probably the easiest way to answer this question. So, as photography is a visual subject, it helps to use your notebook for visual thinking. This is where you draw things and you diagram things. That's called visual thinking. And it is different than thinking with words or sounds or thoughts. You visualize and you sketch things out. You've seen Dan Milner's. If you haven't, you look at his notebooks. He's got all sorts of visual clues in there about what he's writing about. Sometimes he'll take a Polaroid and he'll paste it in there, an Instax, or he'll print something on just his home printer and paste it into the notebook. Any kind of way that you can add a visual, that's very helpful. So that's point number one as far as your workflow. And you sketch or write down your discoveries, keywords that you want to remember. Like you come across something like this, visual thinking, write that down. Always, it helps you remember these things. Diagrams and drawings of how something works, or even how if you're going to do a shoot, you can diagram how you want it to look. That's a shot list, and it's very helpful, even if it's just a rough pencil sketch. Jot down your flashes of inspiration. That's really important. Keith Code, amazing, and he's on my Instagram. Are you guys on my Instagram? There's my handle. You should make sure you go there and look at my latest post from Keith Code. And then, of course, follow me and like that post. Leave your comments, too, because I love hearing from you guys. But Keith Code talked about you got to grab those moments of inspiration before they just fly away. Okay, so also, the other thing about Instagram is I'm posting every day now. So you'll get pieces of stuff that I talk about, maybe a paragraph that I might talk about somewhere else. And it's really, I think, kind of helpful. So when you look at art, and I advise you to do that constantly, whether it's going to a museum, pulling out a book, and the last place would be online. Write in your notebook what you see, like what resonates for you. How was the subject composed within the frame? Look at that. Like, how did that artist compose within the frame? Jared, while I'm doing this, why don't you pull up an example of like Vermeer, and we'll just kind of go through this. And I'll just, I got to just add you over to that screen. Let's see where that is. Hang on a second. I'm going to add Jared to guest one there. And there we go. Is this your, I don't know if you're sharing your screen yet, or you got anything up on the screen, but as soon as you do, there it is.
Got it up on this.
Boom. Okay, good. So let's add you here. There we go. Okay, go back to this. Yeah, Vermeer. This is one I use a lot. Yeah, without a lot of text all over it. So you would look at this.
We'll pull this up.
That's a good one. Just go to that one on the right there. It's perfect. That's the Milkmaid. I use that in my books. Great example. So how was the subject composed within the frame? You can see, right? Kind of jot these things down. How were they lit? Well, all the light is coming from this north-facing window. That was what Vermeer did, and that's what Vermeer lighting is all about. You'll notice that anything that isn't facing that window is in shadows, which is exactly how you use Vermeer lighting. How did the light strike the subject? Look at each layer. Now there's layers in this painting, right? What's in the foreground? What's in the middle ground is her. What's in the background? You've got various layers, and he did a really good job of making those look three-dimensional. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? What is your eye drawn to? For me, it's drawn right to the milkmaid. And then you kind of take a little journey around. Yeah. How did the artist use color? You see they're kind of muted, but that's how it would have looked. They're not going to be really super bright. The blue is probably the brightest, the most vibrant. But again, all that light is coming from that north-facing window, which is kind of diffused already. So these are the kinds of things you can write in your notebook. When you're studying stuff, sketch out. Whoops. There we go. Well, I'm going to get rid of you there, Jared. You don't.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. When you, Dan Milner's still here. What do you know? Hi, Dan.
He's always around.
Yeah. When you sketch out stuff, when you're trying to understand things like aperture or focal length or whatever, it really helps to diagram these things out. So I hope that helps you with your workflow. As far as I put a daily entry in every morning, and I just focus on generally what I've had, because I start the day off and I study for a couple hours a day usually before I do anything. So whatever I've had the most inspiration about, I write about usually in my notebook. If I know I've got a challenge, I'll put that in there. Try to kind of pull it apart. It's really your conversation with yourself. My notebooks don't go anywhere but to me. And it's really helpful as an artist to do that. I do go back through them every now and then and look back, go, oh, wow, that's interesting. I remember I had a problem with that. I don't have that problem anymore. Or, I do still have that. Maybe I had to really nail this thing down. So thanks for asking, Diana, and I hope that helps. All right. What's our next question, Jared?
All right. Our next one, I had to kind of cut it down a little bit to have it for the YouTube comment, but I'll read the full thing.
Cool.
This is from Stuart. I go on vacations or have events locally, and I want to produce work that has some meaning, but there is not time to get deeply involved. It comes, I guess, between a postcard shot and a project, sort of a photo essay, a short story version sort of things. Would this be a possible idea for future features? So I think he wants some ideas on how can you do this?
It's really interesting. What timing, Jared? We're editing a photo walk of me, which begins with me writing down a list of photos that I want to come back with, a shot list. And that's really a great way to do it, because then you go out, you write down like you're going somewhere. I talk about going to Paris, and I wanted to come back with, I had 3 or 4 photographs I knew I wanted for sure. One was the Eiffel Tower without it looking like a postcard. I wanted a photograph of the famous deux chevaux, which is a 2-cylinder, I believe. Or no, that means 2 horses, or somebody who speaks French can translate.
I believe it was 2 horses.
I think it's got to be more than 2 horsepower. But anyway, maybe you could look it up while we're 2CV, Citroen 2CV. Anyway, make a list of these and then go out and photograph them. And that's your photo essay right there. I've done this for magazines where I had a magazine in the San Francisco area where they wanted me to capture, it's a suburban area. It was in Silicon Valley, but they wanted me to capture it as though I were going to a foreign country. And so I just made a list of all what I thought were fairly unusual shots. I took a polo match, and I took a photograph from the roof of the publisher with a telephoto lens that made it look like it was in Yosemite. The sun was setting, and there were trees and mountains in the back room. Nobody would ever guess it was where it was. So you can make your shot list and then go out and look for them. Now, here's the thing about a shot list. These are your pre-visualized. These are the ones you've already visualized before you even head out, which you should always do anyway. But then you're going to encounter ones you didn't even know were going to happen. And those are your spur of the moment. Those are your extemporaneous, is a fancy way of saying it. It just means without any planning, you're just, whoa, look at that. So be prepared for those. Be prepared for those. And you see them in that split second. When you see them, you are still visualizing. You see something and you go, whoa, I better press the shutter. That little split second is still a visualization. It could be a microsecond, but you still do that. So I hope this helps, Stuart. Get your shot list out and just go for it.
Yes.
All right. So who's our, here we go.
Our next question's from Mark. What are your thoughts about contributing to online publications without getting paid, but getting access has to value of your portfolio? So I think they're like, is worth doing it for the portfolio.
Yes. First, easy answer, yes. It's just get your work out there. It's so important to get your work out to the world. And besides just, social media. Okay, we all use social media, fine. But if you have a way of getting your work out and you can contribute to that, that's a really good thing, just to see your work out in the world and for other people to recognize who you are. And it really helps to build your voice, because it's a funny thing. If you have all your photographs in your computer and they don't go anywhere, you don't ever get any feedback from your viewer. It's very unsatisfying. It would, I knew this kid who, we were teenagers, and he became a really good guitarist. He used to play in his room. He was very badly introverted and really was afraid of people. But he would stay in his room and play guitar all the time. And he became a virtuoso, but nobody knew about it. It was kind of sad. He had a sad ending too. And it's kind of related to that. It's just an unfulfilled feeling of like, I have accomplished this, but nobody knows about it. So get your work out to the world any way you can. What's the harm? Okay. And there's another thing is, as you get your work out, you'll find there'll be better opportunities will pop up. That's something I've always discovered. People will ask you for something better, or you ask them. Be very proactive about getting your work out. Look for places where you can do exhibits. There's community exhibits going on all the time. There's restaurants, for instance. I've done some of those. Those are kind of fun, where they when I was relaunching my career as a photographer, I found local restaurants, and they wanted to use my photographs. They actually mixed my photographs with a painter, and we took over the whole restaurant. It was like 30 or 40 prints on the wall, and that was really cool. So look for those opportunities. Get your work out to the world. Absolutely. And make, that means that you're going to have to make prints also. Please subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. Like the video and please share it and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. And remember to get out and capture your own images of life.